And welcome everybody to another Nothing Like a Good Book. And this one, well, it's so hot I can't pick it up. Bad Love Tigers, it's an action adventure. You remember maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, we talked about this? A sci-fi screenplay with great potential. And that was to attract an audience of all ages, young and old, back to the big screen. It's an incredible display of worldwide interest has come out of this. It's proven that Bad Love Tigers is already a global phenomenon. It's crossing cultures and demonstrating its potential, to be that feel great again. Big screen, tentpole, blockbuster franchise. Kevin Schewe is the author, Kevin L Schewe. He's a MD, FACRO, is a board-certified cancer specialist, and he's been in private practice of radiation oncology for nearly 35 years. But he wanted to write. God love him, so he sits down with a pen. And you can find this guy on Instagram, Schewe on Instagram, at Real Kevin Schewe, and kevinshewe.com. That's the website. Write it down, because when we're talking, you're saying, you know what, I wish I'd got that down. Kevin Schewe, SCHEWE.com. And the book trailer, too. It's on Amazon, but you'll see it on my site, on markbishopmedia.com, okay? So, Bad Love Tigers, it reaches a remarkable, listen to this, 400 total wins of Screenplay Awards, sweeping the globe with new awards from places like Turkey, India, Sri Lanka. Yes, it is. That's what I call taking the world by storm. Way over there, not only 400 International Screenplay Awards, but recently adding Best Feature Script, Best Concept, and Best Original Screenplay in India, Best Outlier Film in Turkey, Best Feature Script and Screenplay in Sri Lanka, and Best Short Script in Scotland, and Best Feature Script Screenplay, Best Writer, and Best Concept in Singapore. Boy, oh boy, Kevin, look what's gone on since I last interviewed you, mate. Kevin Schewe, welcome.
Hey, Mark, it's great to be with you. So good to be back with you, and always enjoy when we get together. So, yeah, I mean, last week, leading up to Labor Day and including the Labor Day weekend, the screenplay got Best Story at the French International Modern Film and Script Festival in Paris, and it won in Rome. And Vilnius, Lithuania. I mean, it won in Tokyo and London and Berlin and Hamburg, Germany last week. So it is sweeping the globe.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, dear, wrong one.
There's just no doubt in my mind you're going to be seeing this on the big screen. This is a feel-good action adventure that's going to bring audiences of all ages 10 to 100.
Well, I'd hate for you to have all this wonderful stuff going on for you and no one to make the damn movie because they're all on strike. Well, it's more than that. Stone the crows. Yeah. And, you've got the best thing that's ever been done in years. But anyway, it'll be all fine by then. You're working feverishly in the background to get this award-winning action adventure sci-fi screenplay to the big screen. Now, folks, what's he talking about? Well, you might not have heard before, but I have a doctor who turned author who's got a hit on his hands. All over the damn world, this thing is like number one. You know how many people are out there trying to get awards, writing screenplays, my little film company, trying to get it off the ground? It's unbelievable. What he's done is amazing. It must have been meant to happen. Or he got blessed Tesla to help him somehow, that alien. The thing is this, folks, if you don't know anything about it, Bad Love Tigers, it's an international success, finding acclaim at film festivals in dozens of countries. Why? What's so good about it? What is it? Well, it's sort of, it's about a misfit group of young adventurers, for starters, so you can visualize what they look like. And they're known as the Bad Love Gang. They come of age as they use a time travel machine. Now, this gets sexy. right? And it's called the White Hole Project, right? To travel back to World War II era. So they go backwards. And they meet with President Roosevelt at that time and embark on a perilous secret mission to protect, of all things, which is very controversial today, an alien spaceship. Woo! And defeat the Japanese in combat, because it's pretty bad what Japs were doing at that time. I talked to Australians about it. And go see a movie called The Bridge on the River Kwai with Sir Alec Guinness. Marvelous. Keeping America's most important and deepest national secret safe at Area 51 it hinges on the success of these misfits, right, and their quest. And what they get up to. Well, Kevin, it's up to you how much you want to share.
Well, you know something, you probably saw this in the news, Mark, but there's a whistleblower out there named David Charles Grush, who's a decorated U.S. Air Force veteran from Afghanistan. He served in the National Reconnaissance Office, and he filed a whistleblower complaint with Congress about recovered UFOs of exotic origin, including 8 crashed alien vehicles with dead pilots. Mm-hmm. This was all over the news just before Oppenheimer came out.
Yeah, I went and saw that the other night, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet, Oppenheimer, just while we're there?
I have, and of course, you know I loved it because I love that history, and it collides with my book.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, when I was watching Oppenheimer, I loved it. It was brilliant, and I must admit, the music I thought was, although a little bit mechanical and all that, it was brilliant. It suited it perfectly. But anyway, let's get back to Bad Love Tigers, which, by the way, folks, is the sequel to his best-selling debut novel that he brought out, which was Bad Love Strikes. But that's another story. So anyway, go on, because I'm a great believer of this stuff. I watch YouTube every night, and when I go to bed, that's my book. And I watch all of the alien stuff and everything. I'm just waiting for them to arrive. I wish to God I could get the first interview somehow, to be honest, Kevin. I know they exist. They've existed for billions of years. They've played with us. We're still a God. I still believe in God, and I still believe, in fact, that we're human. But how did we get here? How did we get translated from apes, if you like? What did they do to us? What did they have? What have they been playing with for years? And, now that we're going into outer space, and we do have to, colonize, it's another world now, isn't it? And they're starting to visit more and more and more. But I do believe also, Kevin, that they don't want to see us blow ourselves up. What say you on that? I mean, you know what I mean? They've already stopped nuclear once, right?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, I'm writing book 5 right now, which is called Bad Love Rising. And that particular book, the Bad Love Gang are always interacting with historical characters. And but in Bad Love Rising, they're interacting with John F. Kennedy and also with Marilyn Monroe. But there's, if you really dig deep, you can see that JFK was aware of the UFO situation, and really, if you think about how Oppenheimer collides with Bad Love Tigers, and then ties in this whole idea that we've been visited by aliens, particularly at Area 51. The book is basically in the screenplay that Roosevelt needed a backup plan to the Manhattan Project in the event that Hitler won the race to get the atomic bomb. And so he calls on Albert Einstein and he says, Albert, we need a backup plan to the Manhattan Project. And so I'm commissioning you to build a usable time travel machine. Mm-hmm. And of course, Einstein is saying to Roosevelt, and they were friends. I mean, they were friends. And he's saying to Roosevelt, well, it's true that time and space travel are possible through the passage of wormholes. He said, but you have to have something that will hold that wormhole open long enough for space and time travelers to traverse. And he says, we call it exotic matter. And Roosevelt looks at him and says, well, I think we might have some of that for you.
Well, I know. It goes way back. And in fact, in Bad Love Tigers, Roosevelt, this particular big hit, okay, he plays a big part in the book, doesn't he? Tell us more about your research. By the way, you mentioned Marilyn. I interviewed Terry Carger and Jay McGarlis from the New York Times about 3 months ago with her new book, okay, My Merrill. And she's one of the one living person who intimately knew Marilyn Monroe and Ronald Reagan, in fact. And she was a co-author of the book called My Merrill. As I said, Jay McGarlis from New York Times bestseller. It was on the bestseller list. Very nice, but I tell you what, apparently Marilyn was a lovely girl. Before her time, in a lot of ways. She was not as thick and as dumb as what people make her out to be. Very smart, very quiet, very private, and there's no doubt they knocked her off. You know what I mean? I know series and also the other stuff too. They knocked off Kennedy. Apparently, beautiful John Kennedy knocked him off because of the UFO stuff. I mean, these are all theories. These are all, but they're topics to talk around the around the dinner table. But in Bad Love Tigers, I mean, you must be absolutely sure. Are you flying around all these countries right now receiving these awards or what?
No, I've been doing all of this virtually, and it's because I'm still practicing full time as a cancer doctor. So
how do you get the time? It amazes me, to be honest.
And so, in fact, I'm in my clinic with the door shut here, visiting with you, and it's Friday afternoon, but
right.
I would love to go to all these countries.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Once this movie happens, Mark, that's my agenda. And I really believe that Bad Love Tigers, and of course the whole series, could resurrect Hollywood as a tentpole franchise. Similar to Back to the Future, because it has that kind of feel. Raiders.
Yeah, I can see that. And there's a need for it too. All the other ones are done to death, right? And this is good enough to be that, I think. And, it's certainly going to replace Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's gone. That's at its day.
Right.
And all of them, and I think The Rock can overdo it. But he's starting to do a lot of PR with Maui and so on, but I don't know. This is a terrific. In fact, the irony of this thing is you're dedicated to your sister. Now, she's been an influence in your story. Share that again with my listeners, would you?
Yeah, so my sister Kathy, a little over, it's now been about 5.5 years, was treated for stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, which is triple negative breast cancer is a particularly virulent form of breast cancer. And she and I were growing up together, we were fans of anything related to time travel. And so we just, shared that love of fiction growing up. She was at one time an English teacher. And so anyway, it just, when I started writing the first book, I realized, and I did this honestly, Mark, without really thinking about it. I started writing Bad Love Strikes, which is the first book in the series, on Kathy's birthday. And I didn't realize it till I went back in my notes. And so all of these things with me being a cancer specialist and I didn't treat my own sister, but I certainly directed who she saw and what kind of care she got.
Mm-hmm.
And And so it just made perfect sense to dedicate it to her. And, she, of course, loves all this.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I one of my favorite movies, and you would remember it well. It starred an Australian actor who said at Sydney Airport to one of his buddies when he turned around to get on the plane, "I don't care who I got to go to bed with to make it." And his name was Rod Taylor, God rest his soul. Lovely bloke. And the reality was he got the time machine. And I think that was the greatest movie when it comes to time machines. And it started them all, That was absolutely fabulous. And I still watch it when I can. But, this, folks, if you haven't been in on this and it's your first time, a whistleblower, he said that the government knows about alien visitors, but they've covered it up. Now, this is before all this jazz has happened in the last 6 months, where it's been very, very hot with alien. I forget their God. I didn't mean to do that. I forget their group and so on. But I mean, it's come to the fore more than ever. And here we are with this book about a whistleblower, right? And it follows the plot of the series. In fact, Kevin was a World War II history buff. You see, that's what he is. So, Bad Love Tigers. It actually combines factual history with fiction. And in fact, Kevin, you mentioned that you read about the flying tigers as a small child. How did you come up with such a fascinating storyline for this book?
Well, I wanted to bring General Claire Chennault into the picture. And in fact, I want Dennis Quaid to play the role of General Chennault in the movie. Yeah, it was I had asthma as a child, and my mother would read to me in the middle of the night when I would have an asthma attack. She would rock me and read to me. I was reading books by the time I was between 4 and 5 years old, and The Flying Tigers is one of the first books that I actually read as a little boy, and so I loved all things about airplanes and World War II aircraft and World War II history. My dad was he was a staff sergeant in the Army in the Philippines under MacArthur.
All right.
And so I grew up, with all of that. And so anyway, I had to bring the Flying Tigers into this time travel adventure, and it'll make for the screenplay opens with the P40 Warhawks flying, and it just grabs you from the minute you read the first line.
Right. Well, of course, you understand where I'm actually interviewing you from is in Tucson, Arizona, where I live. And we've got the beautiful big museum of all the X-planes. In fact, a lot of them can still fly. They're just all covered up, make sure dust can't get in, and the atmosphere is perfect for them. Our museum here, the Boneyard. We've got tons and tons of planes. Good place to make a movie. But anyway, your book itself is interspersed with links to songs that readers can listen to while they read. Okay, it's kind of like a musical score in a movie, and it adds... I think it adds emotional impact and enjoyment of your book. It's quite unique in the reading world. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, when I was growing up, my dad was a jukebox vendor in St. Louis County. By the way, 9 of the characters in the screenplay and in the books are based on real people that I grew up with in St. Louis. And I had to have us all grow up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, for the purpose of the books, because that's where they were processing plutonium for the first atomic bomb. But anyway, we had a Wurlitzer style jukebox in our home growing up, and it played 145 RPM records, and so I have 2 older sisters who were popular, in high school. And so I grew up with them dancing with their friends to the jukebox. and I got imprinted, my brain got imprinted with all this music from the 60s and 70s. And so, if I'm talking to you, Mark, or somebody from my childhood in a particular event, we're talking about, my brain will kick in and usually identify it with a song that was playing at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, you're right. Psychological. Yeah.
I call it my music brain. So, I mean, there's some great music in Bad Love Tigers, and I tell the readers, tell Alexa to play, Kodachrome by Paul Simon, or Bang a Gong by T-Rex, Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I mean, those are a couple of the songs in the soundtrack.
All right, so they relate to then when they go back in time to that era, right? Or what are you playing in this era, or in the era that they're in before they go back?
I'm sorry?
What sort of music? Give us an idea of the music in the current time that they're in before they go back.
Yeah, so these kids are growing up in this is 1974, 1975 in Bad Love Strikes, Bad Love Tigers. And so that's the music from that era, from 74, 75, that they're listening to as they travel back in time and then come back to the future. And so, it's the opening song to Bad Love Tigers is "You're So Vain" by Carly Simon.
Yeah, I remember all of those. I was a jock at the time, so I remember playing a lot of that stuff. Yeah,
and then when they're ambushed in the White Hole Project, they're celebrating New Year's Eve, and they're playing "We're an American Band" by Grand Funk Railroad, which I want to remind you, on the cover of that album, it instructed the owner of the album to turn the volume to full blast to listen to the song.
Then you wouldn't. This guy's a radiation oncologist, listeners. All right. I mean, he's just a kid at heart, isn't he? Hey, when you listen to it, your books have a light-hearted feeling, though, don't they? Of hope and adventure. And yet, in the world you live in, it's sad, and there's death all around you. I mean, tell us how you balance the hard, emotional work of your job with your writing career.
It's actually, it's a very natural fit, Mark, because first of all, I've been practicing cancer medicine for 35 years. And so I'm very open and honest, and I explain things to my patients in a way that they can understand them, because cancer care is very complicated, and you have to bring it to the level of the patient and their family. And so my approach to cancer care is one of hope, because when I first started, we were only curing about 50% of our patients. Now we're curing about 75, 80%. And so patients get a diagnosis of cancer, and they think that death has visited their doorstep. And usually that's actually not the case.
Right.
And so
it's not a death call. It doesn't mean a big deal. You got cancer. All right.
Right. And so I really infuse hope with my approach to taking care of cancer patients. And that's what these books are all about. I mean, these books are really, and the screenplays, of course, and soon the movies, it's about making the best of the hand that you're dealt.
Exactly.
And you've got these teenagers that are literally they're fearless. When you're a teenager, Mark, you weren't afraid of anything, right?
No, not me, no.
you're never going to die. And so these teenagers are solving problems that would otherwise have adults boxed in.
Right.
And I think that's the universal appeal, by the way. I think that's why these things are such a global success, because it's communicating with people of all cultures. I mean, all cultures want to be that way. It's not just something unique to America,
Oh,
right?
of course not. Of course not. No, exactly. I mean, you have said this book, would be a perfect read for teens. All right. So you have intimated that, and I think not only I think adults will love it too. Quite frankly, because it'll bring back memories, the songs, the music alone. But from the stories, it's interesting. It keeps you busy. It keeps you thinking. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to win about it. Now you are writing a sequel. You touched on it. It's book 5 to Bad Love Tigers, right? Tell us about that one now.
So, the sequel to Bad Love Tigers is Bad Love Beyond, and then there's Bad Love Medicine, and now there's Bad Love Rising. And so Bad Love Rising is going to further explore this idea of, that we have been visited by aliens from other planets, but it also is going to continue to tie that into World War II, but specifically following some of the events of John F. Kennedy's life. And so I don't want to give away too many secrets here because, JFK really did know about UFOs. And so it's gonna tie in the Area 51 with JFK and Israel. I'm bringing Israel into book 5 because it's interesting. I mean, JFK did not want. He was a very strong ally of Israel, and he did not. But he really got upset with Israel because they were developing an atomic bomb. And in reality, JFK did not want nuclear proliferation. He was doing his best to limit nuclear proliferation. And so all of these things are going to tie together in book 5.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. The only thing, we're talking about aliens and ships and this and that now, and when it's ready, when the public can handle it, I think what it will do, a lot of the older set are dying off, of course. They'll miss it. But they reckon, in about 10 or 17 years or something, it'll come to fruition, whether they land on the front lawn of the White House and talk to the president. Nothing to be scared of. But the reality is, what I don't like is if we're making, at 51 or another area, if we're making reproductions, they're our craft that are scaring the devil out of people. I was in Phoenix at the time when that thing flew right over the top of me, right? It was my birthday. And that thing in Phoenix, the Phoenix Lights. And I'll never forget it. But here's the deal. Now I'm concerned that, hang on a minute, if we've made that one, is that us or is it them? And, it's, again, they are experts in the spin. And we'll get that way by the time it happens. I think that, it's another one. Oh, these ones are different. They're grey and they walk funny. But the ships are the same. I mean, whether they're getting us ready for it or not, or is it about being able to have space wars? Because that's next, isn't it? That was a Reagan favorite. The Chinese have been on the moon. The Japs have been on the moon. The Russians have been on the moon now. India's been on the moon. So
just recently, yeah.
Maybe there's a sequel when you're in outer space altogether, mate. Do you remember the scene in that Independence Day when they're going to fill gas, and when he first gets in it, I gotta get me one of these, right? That was amazing. And I tell you what, these ships, I mean, I wish I understood engineering more and the technology and the logistics, but it's absolutely amazing of warp speed, what they can do, not do. I'm surprised they crash on the planet, our planet. Aren't you a little bit if they're that sharp? What does affect me, going back to people that are ill with cancer, this does piss me off, I got to tell you. I wonder if we really do know the cure for cancer already, but they won't release it. It's a big business, pharma and medicine, period. And you're the Hippocratic Oath and God knows what else. And you'd love to see it. And you mentioned, we're up to 75 70, 75, maybe 80% cures compared to the old days. But I wonder if the aliens could help us more, my friend.
Well, I actually address that in in Bad Love Beyond and Bad Love, specifically book 4, Bad Love Medicine. And you probably just slipped into this without knowing it. But in Bad Love Medicine, I specifically address that issue, and I address that issue as it relates to breast cancer in Bad Love Medicine. So read all about it.
Well, I'm going to have to get the whole darn trilogy, aren't I? The whole lot of them. Eh? Proudly put them on the shelf. One right through God knows how many. What do you get to, 10? You've got books in your brain, haven't you, mate? Kevin Schewe, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to get rid of him just yet. You're quite an entrepreneur. Just touch on your other businesses for any budding writers out there who are frustrated at the moment, realizing that, you've still got to work, you've still got to make a living, you've still got bills to pay like anybody else. You're just following your heart and your dream and what your thoughts are, and you're putting pen to paper, right? It's that simple.
Yeah, I back in 2009, I invented a cream, a vitamin E cream, specifically for my breast cancer patients, called Elite Therapeutics. And that then became a small cosmetics company, which is still in business. So you can go online and look at www.elitetherapeutics, and that all of those cosmetics really are focused on the healing properties of vitamin E.
Terrific. That's great. So for men and for women, right?
Exactly.
That's terrific. That's great, because surprisingly, I don't know, why do so many women suffer or get breast cancer? Have you figured it out?
Well, it's multifactorial. And so there's inherited breast cancer, which means you're carrying the BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene for breast cancer. Ashkenazi Jews, for example, have a high propensity to carry that gene. But nowadays we pretty much check all our newly diagnosed breast cancer patients to see if they're genetic carriers. But then, roughly 1 in 7, 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer. And we call it sporadic breast cancer, or if you want to, in layman's terms, luck of the draw. And only about 1 in 100 breast cancer cases occur in men. So it's really more of a female malignancy. And so there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it has to do with environment, what you eat, your life stresses, whether or not you're overweight. There are hormonal influences to breast cancer. If you're taking supplemental estrogen after menopause, you're increasing your risk of developing breast cancer. And so
wow,
it's just not. And the other thing I tell, and this is just maybe a fun fact for the audience, but there's not going to be just a cure for cancer. I mean, breast cancer is a totally different disease than colon cancer, is a totally different disease than lung cancer, and that's a different disease than leukemia or multiple myeloma, which is a bone cancer. All of these cancers are different diseases. So there's going to be roughly 100 different cures for breast cancer, not one. It's going to be, you're going to be curing all these cancers, but you're going to be curing them in different ways.
Well, on that subject, okay, I'm reading or hearing a lot about this CRISPR technology. And is this connected at all to where they can go in now and take out the hereditary through your DNA. You know, that you won't get it because they'll snip it out. They'll know if your mother had it or your father had it or if it was in the family. I mean, that sounds something like sci-fi, doesn't it?
Read book 4.
Oh my God! Folks, I have not read these books. I swear to you, I have to now. You'll sue me next.
You've got to read Bad Love Medicine because your imagination is right where I'm writing.
Listen, Kevin Schewe, where do I buy all these books? Tell me.
Well, I have a website, www.kevinschewe.com. And if you go to my website and you hit the buy tab, it will take you to either Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And you can buy these books in paperback, hardcover, Kindle or Nook. And the books are available, all 4 books are available on Amazon Audible. And so if you're one of these people who are driving for your job and you like to listen to books while you're driving, perfect for you. And so, and even, the books are carried on by Walmart on their website. And, but I think that's the easiest way, to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble online and buy the books there. And then I have you alluded to it when we started, I have a great Instagram site. It's at Real Kevin Schewe, also on TikTok, at Real Kevin Schewe. But the Instagram is fun because every time I win one of these awards, I put it to music and I put it on my Instagram account. So if you like a wide variety of music, you'll enjoy that.
All right, I'll check that out as well. Amazing. All right, so what are the plans now? I've gone over time, but you're worth it because you promised me the red carpet ticket. I haven't forgotten, my friend. Listen, what happens now? What's the next step for Kevin L Schewe?
Well, I'm working with a company out in Los Angeles to shop the screenplays to the studios, and so all of that is in the works right now. I'm hoping the next time you and I interview, I'm going to give you a schedule of when this movie is going to get made and when it, the target date to release it. And
beautiful. Yeah. Fabulous.
So that's really my goal. My goal right now is to have these screenplays picked up by a studio and by really talented people in terms of converting this into an actual big screen tentpole movie.
Wow, you better go along and see what's his name? Spielberg.
Yeah, I'd love for Spielberg or Jerry Bruckheimer would be great. This would be a great Bruckheimer.
Yeah, he was good. He's good too. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah,
and I love Ron Howard.
I was
Apollo
thinking of
13,
him. Yeah.
Apollo 13 is one of my favorite movies of all time. And so anyway, there's a ton of talent.
There's a ton of talent. I don't think the one that would suit is Scorsese. I don't think it's his sort of cup of tea, to be honest. Martin Scorsese or Scorsese, whatever you want, apple, tomato, whatever. No, I think you've picked it. Those first 2, 3, I think would be absolutely ideal for it. Exciting times for you, Kevin. We've got to go, but listen, all the best. Keep us informed. And folks, I just want to go over very quickly again where to go. Kevin, please give all the connection scenarios to be able to buy your books. I know it's Amazon, of course, and Barnes & Noble. They're the 2 online. But your site, again, is what?
It's www.kevinschewe, KevinSchewe.com. And that's a great place. You can hit the buy tab and you can purchase the books that way. And and you can also watch all the videos. I mean, there are the video trailers for every one of these books, and those are actually kind of entertaining to watch.
Okay. And you can check those out on Instagram as well, right?
That's right.
At real Kevin Schewe. All right.
That's
at
it.
Real Kevin Schewe. That's on Instagram. All right, bud. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Godspeed. And I tell you what, thumbs up and get that prop moving. Okay.
All right. Well, I've got your red carpet ticket ready, Mark.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That'll be a first for me. I admire you, and I think it's terrific. Good luck to you. I own a little small film company with a couple of buddies here in Tucson, and we've done a couple of shorts, and no budget stuff, literally. and the next one's going to be a little better, but I've just written an absolute beauty that I love called Night Waves, and I think it's got the potential to make a full-length feature. So that's my goal in your world a little bit later on. So God willing, that'll come off too. Wouldn't that be great? We could sit down and have a couple of quick Fosters together or whatever. All right, my friend.
Kudos to you for that. Yeah.
Take care.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.